Where are you taking me?
Okay, you were talking about struggling, huh? And again, when you see, I'm taking you to Nigeria. When you look at people like Aliko Dangote, the richest black man on the planet, you think it happened overnight.
No.
You think he just became a billionaire just like that. He wasn't always like that. Back in 1975, he was a trader. You know, in Nigeria, when you're from the north, he's from the north of Nigeria, right? Muslim. Nigeria is literally split down the middle. The north is Muslim, the south is Christian. He was from the north, from Kano. And he was a trader. He would go overseas, buy some, whether it was pasta or rice or, whatever goodies, and buy as a trader, come back, break it down, and sell it. That's what he did for a living. Because Nigeria, obviously, oil dominated 90% of the economy. The farmers left the farms, and everyone got into the oil business. So there was hardly any food to feed their
Sorry, there's a feedback.
Okay, their fast-growing population. Hardly any, any food. So Aliko was one of the traders, one of the people going outside, buying food, coming back, breaking it down, and repackaging it.
So when people left for oil, he went to come back
He
and
knew.
bring food
Yes.
for the oil.
Yes, because at the time, let's say 1975, let's say the population was around 50 million, more than us even then, 40 years ago. So he saw this business was, there's a potential for it to be lucrative. So he went to his uncle. Right? His uncle was a rich businessman as well in Kano. His name was Dantata. He went to Dantata and he said, listen, I need a loan from you. Give me a loan of 1 million naira and I'll pay you back. And by the way, in 1975, 1 million naira was the equivalent of 1 million pounds. Not dollars, pounds then. His uncle gave him the money. Less than a year later, Aliko had paid him back in full. And the business started growing. More pasta, more rice, now he's going into sugar. Gets sugar from Brazil, brings it back, repackages it. Pasta from wherever, brings it back. And then he said, oh, you know what? This country is going to be growing. It's going to be growing. So how about cement? We import cement from India, from Thailand, from China. What if I bring the cement and repackage it and sell it locally at a reduced price? So he started doing that, getting cement overseas. The container load of cement, shipload, repackaging it. And then he started calling it Dangote cement. Started doing very, very well. Getting lots of lucrative business deals, and the country was growing, infrastructure was growing. And then he decided, you know what? Why import? This country has huge potential and tons of what's this raw product for cement, and whatever it is, I keep forgetting. Apana. It's called. It's here in Kitui, in Kampani. Anyway. Why don't we exploit our own resources? He started doing that. And it was incredible. So one day, everybody's reading the story in Nigeria. Every story, that comes out of Nigeria is about corruption, 419, blah, blah, blah. And I said, you know what? Why don't we do a positive story? And I called him and finally got to talk to him. And he says, listen, Jeff, I don't do interviews, because all the interviews I do, people turn them around and they all say that, we're all corrupt, all Nigerians. I don't do interviews. I said, listen, Alhaji, everyone called him Alhaji. I will be fair. We'll just spend the day with you. It's what I called a day in the life. Let me spend the day with you. From morning all the way to evening. Take us wherever you want to take us. Show us who this man, Aliko Dangote, is. Finally, after a lot of convincing, he agreed. So we met him one morning in his house in Ikoyi, in one of the islands in Lagos, having breakfast, getting into the car, driving to the airport, getting into his own plane, because this is his hobby, was buying planes. Lear jets, that was his hobby. Like how people buy cars, he buys planes. We get into his plane and we fly out to a place called in Kogi State, in the middle of the country. Literally jungle. Kogi State, a place called Obajana. They call it Obajana. In this place, for the 18 months before that, he had literally carved out of the jungle. Limestone. I was talking about limestone, the product of cement. There was so much limestone in this place. He had carved out a factory in Kogi State, and in this factory is where now he was producing, taking out the limestone and producing cement. And he had built this huge plant, middle of nowhere, his own money. He spent $600 million of his own money. The World Bank, when they heard about this, they sent their president of the World Bank, his name was Wolfenson then. They sent him to go personally to see this thing. Said, who spent $600 million then? About 10 years ago. The World Bank was so impressed, they threw him another $400 million. They said, listen, you want some more money? We'll give you money to complete this or to make it bigger, to expand it. This thing was producing its own electricity, because with cement and limestone, you have to have a source of power. Nigeria is notorious for not having power. He built his own power plant right there to supply his own factory. There was so much power left over. He was supplying the capital, Abuja, 200 kilometers away. He was supplying Abuja with electricity because there was so much excess here in this place. This one man, and he took us around the plant and we walked. It was incredible. And back in the plane, we flew back to Lagos. He says, Jeff, tomorrow I'll take you to another plant if you want to continue this. I said, yeah, we want to see what you do. Who is this person? The next day, same thing. Get up, go to his house in Ikoyi, go to the airport, get in his plane. We're sitting there, man. I mean, it's an 8-seater. We're sitting there, luxurious, beautiful. But this man is working 24/7. And by the way, staunch Muslim, praying every time he can get. Every chance he gets, he's praying. He's doing his prayers. Took us to another plant. The same system, limestone in the ground, factory, generator, supplying whoever wants, whichever town is closest, he's supplying. This man, I'm telling you, the way he's worked so hard. So I put the story together, A Day in the Life of Aliko Dangote. Beautiful story, fantastic. It told itself. I didn't have to write much. It told itself. Sent it to Atlanta. Those days it was Inside Africa. So they played it on Inside Africa, and it was great. It was well received, everything. Mostly when a story would play on Inside Africa, it would now be taken out of the program and put in the general news or in the business news or whatever. Here's a story from Africa you probably haven't heard of. With this story, they refused to play it. And I said, what's going on? And I was, I waited an hour, 2, 3, half the night. The next day, nothing. They said, what's going on, guys? I thought, it was a pretty decent story. We double-checked. Everything was double-checked by the editors. What? How come you didn't play the story? They said, that's a Nigerian story, man. There's no way you could have made the money legitimately. And I said, what? They said, yeah, Nigerians, they're all thieves. They're all corrupt. They must have stolen the money. I said, did you see the story? Google the man. Check it out yourself. He said, no, we're not. No. So I called the president of CNN, the guy who was the president of CNN International. I said, look, we did this story, and your guys on the desk, they weren't very happy. They didn't repeat it. And he said, let me take a look. Called me back about half an hour later and says, Jeff, we're going to play that story all day tomorrow and the next day, because it is true. I mean, Aliko Dangote is the real deal. So the next day, all day long, wakacheza your story, wakaicheza tena, and the guys on the desk, obviously they weren't very happy because I had gone over their heads to talk to the boss, right? But I said, you know what? If a story is true and legit, you have to tell it. Aliko worked his butt from 1975 to even to this day. That's why he is worth 30, 40 billion US or whatever it is, and he keeps doing it. He says he wants to supply Africa with cement, not just Nigeria, Africa. He's got 14 plants around the continent. Nigeria, Zambia. He tried to open one here, the usual crap of him, license this, license that, people trying to steal from him. And he was very frustrated, right? But he did his, 15 countries, he's got Dangote cement. Can you imagine? $1 billion plants, huh? Unbelievable. Wow. And that is what we call a story a day.
The Hot Breakfast with Jeff and Jelano.